Man, I love looking at dynamic and fluid poses, but I suck drawing those. When I try to draw dynamic poses, they always end up stiff and boring. I'm going to use Artfight as a golden opportunity to become better at drawing action poses. Alright, so first up is Charlene by Himayu. Charlene is described as brash and spent years learning from a retired sea captain after she fled the city she was living in. I wanted the pose to reflect that, with the sword being extended out towards the camera, like an intimidation towards someone outside of our viewpoint. I also incorporated sky and seagulls in the background to reflect her many years at the sea. To challenge myself, I made sure that the pose had foreshortening. Now, if you are anything like me that loves to stare at splash art all day, you will notice that a lot of poses has this extreme sort of perspective where a hand comes towards you or a feet going in the distance. That is foreshortening. Now, understanding foreshortening is the easiest part, but how to draw it is a whole lot harder. Something that I like to do that you can try as well is to simplify the pose into basic shapes. Since it's so much easier to draw a box or a cylinder in perspective than it is to draw all the complex shapes that you see within the body. You can check this video to learn more how I simplify the body with the Riley method. Now, how would you go about drawing something foreshortened? If I would draw, let's say an arm coming towards you, I would first draw simple forms representing the upper and lower arm. Then the two shapes would overlapping more or less depending on how foreshortened it is. I use cross contour lines to help me convey three-dimensionality to a shape. You can also emphasize foreshortening with line thickness. I'm adding thicker lines that is closest to us, the viewer. To demonstrate this further, if I draw a thick line next to a thin, you'll notice that the thicker line grab our attention more. Okay, now I'm adding the rest of the image. I'm using a grayish blue for the shadows on a multiply layer. And then I add the light on a glow dodge layer to get that sunlight feel down. And here's the finished piece. I'm very happy about the result. I think I really nailed the flowiness of the fabric and the colors work nicely together. Next up is Koharu, created by Birdco. Koharu is described as a private person who is stubborn, hardworking, and pushes past their limits of what their body are able to withstand. So, I wanted to add a little bit of storytelling into the pose. What I had in mind was that Koharu was being knocked down, swings around to deal a blow to whoever struck them in the first place. However, I must confess, even if I like this image, looking back at it, I noticed a particular problem with it. And that is space. In order to make the character feel like it exists within a space, we need to think about perspective. By adding the character to a grid and push the depth a bit more will give a clearer momentum forward. Also by shrinking the character's head and move the staff up will give a better silhouette. So a good practice you can do to improve to put character in space is to do quick sketches, 30 seconds to a minute per pose, and think about how to apply depth to a pose. The importance here is not to copy what you see exactly, but try to problem solve how to push it in a way that makes it feel like the figure has depth. It helps to know how to draw basic shapes in perspective. Trust me, perspective is the most important fundamental to learn since it's a vital skill to have in order to be able to visualize something in 3D space. Alright, the last finishing touches I did for Koharu was to add a background, since I did not have the time to add a fully rendered background for every single art fight piece. So I made a copy of the character, scaled it up and lowered the opacity. And here's the finished result. This image ended up being one of my favorite pieces I made during art fight. Okay, so next up is Damon. I apologize if I butcher his name in this video. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be Damon or Damon, but I will call him Damon in this video. Damon belongs to So Artist Art. He is a tiefling rogue with a petrify curse. He is described as a character who prefers long-distance combat, but I was thinking for this pose that he will use his daggers. Maybe as an element of surprise that nobody saw coming. As I take a closer look at the pose right now, there is one major thing I've been overlooking in this pose, and that is silhouette. Silhouette is one of the things that brings more clarity to a pose. If we turn this image black and white, we can see that elements are being lost. There are way too many bumps in this silhouette that makes it unreadable, and the composition is all over the place. Okay, so how would I fix it? Like this. What I did here was to move the arms up and the head to the left to make the silhouette clearer. I also designed the entire shape to have passive and active areas. Just to explain a little bit further what I mean, let's take a look at these artists. Active and passive area is to create a side that is more simple and the other side being more complex to create contrast. Make sure to separate the individual parts of the body that you want to bring more attention to, since that will stand out from the rest of the silhouette. One thing that I never really thought about was that the body also have composition. So what you want to do is to make sure that all the design elements should lead you to one single focal point, which is in my case the face. Now, despite the issue with the silhouette, I'm still happy about the result. I like the thinner line art and the more simple way I do light and shadows. And here's the finished piece. So what do you think? Next up is Brander by Victor Munn. Brander is in his late 30s. He started out as a guard but quickly got recruited by a knightly order due to his good reputation. He climbed the ranks and that led him to trophy hunting for the nobility. Okay, so my idea was to draw him swinging an axe. I used a lot of references and redrew the arms multiple times. I feel I'm struggling drawing arms raised like this, so that is something I definitely need to study and practice in the future. One thing that I have not mentioned yet that is quite important to make your poses truly dynamic, and that is angles. So let's take a look at these images. The reason they feel dynamic is diagonals. You get a sense of movement from the characters. It's also emphasized by the background that also have this angle to it. You can also use angles to shoulders and hips to get a dynamic pose. Okay, so the process for this piece was very similar to the other drawings that I showed in this video, but I wanted to put more effort to texture and make things feel like hair, fabric, and so on. And here is the finished piece. I'm very happy how the shading turned out, and I wanted to continue on doing this type of shading for more artwork in the future. Alright, that's it from me. Hope you find this video helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one.